It's actually a pretty nice place to live. I'm not gonna lie. Every time I go back home, and I'm like, I don't. I keep saying I don't want to stay here, but it seems to. Oh, we're live. Sorry, dude.
Can you guys hear me? Ah, you can. Thank goodness. Okay, sorry about that. I suck at the OBS. This is Coach Shred Pill's channel, and I'm here with Dr. Benway and our special guest, Black Pigeon Speaks. And Black Pigeon, you're going to be speaking, and we're going to be listening, and you're going to be telling us about the collapsing real estate market in Japan and other fun tidbits, because that was actually kind of cool. Because, sorry guys, sorry I'm so disorganized, because I was expecting a completely different morning this morning because it's my 7:30 a.m. And I was just on a completely different track this morning, and just by circumstance and by happenstance, all of a sudden Benway and Black Pigeon are on, and we're all like, okay, let's stream. Okay, let's stream. And here we are. And I'm trying to produce this thing. And by the way, chat, I need to ask you guys, press 1 if you guys can hear us properly. Black Pigeon, Benway, why don't you say hello so that you can prove that you're here?
Hi, I'm here.
I'll talk, but I can't prove that I'm here.
Okay, so chat, please press 1 if you can hear us. And if there's any kind of problem, press 0 and tell us what it is. So anyway, we'll just dive right into it. Look, Black Pigeon has been, he was the object of a hit piece by an unnameable shithead, okay, that I've had some experience with. And the fact of the matter is, ultimately we've come to the conclusion that he's a troll. And so what do you do with a troll? You don't feed him. You just ignore him. And so we don't see much of a reason to be talking about this asshole anymore. And so we won't. Instead, we're going to be talking about things that are actually interesting and entertaining. And the first thing I wanted to dive into is the whole thing going on in Paris, not Paris, in France, that it's basically like a revolution. Oh, great. Chad is saying that everything is 5x5 audio-wise, so terrific. So there's basically like a precursor to a revolution. Benway, why don't you fill in the details so I can stop talking.
I don't know all of the details, but I think high level story is I think there's some sort of energy restriction crisis going on. Macron government more or less trying to impose some sort of impact on the society at large. I forget exactly which unions or workers groups in France are protesting. I think it's everybody at this point. It's all over the country. Paris is very aesthetically under duress at the moment. And it's kind of where it is. Macron's popularity level wasn't particularly high to begin with in this situation, and this certainly isn't boosting it by any stretch of the term. So, is this real, France is doing something, or is this the typical every 5 years France has to pretend like it matters and, does a little shit kicking in the street for a while and then they go back to bed? I think it's probably more of the latter.
BPS, you've been following this shit?
Actually, I've been following it cursively. Not so much. I think I'm kind of going to agree with him in the fact that France just seems to be a country that loses its shit every few years. And I don't know. I don't want to be black-pilled about this, but they're going to have to do more than this. I mean, I agree. I've seen like even things like firefighters and whatnot joining in this protest, and getting rid of one political head isn't going to change anything. I mean, it's the same thing as, for example, in the United States when Barack Obama was elected under the slogan "Hope and Change," and he didn't do anything. And I would actually even venture further that when he was finished with his 2 terms, America, especially in terms of things like race relationships between blacks and whites, the separation between those who have and the have-nots was worse. A lot of metrics. He was a horrible president, and they replaced him and he replaced what people hated with George Bush, and now Trump has replaced him. How many of Trump's campaign promises has he kept? Where's the wall?
Yeah.
Where is the wall? Where is his backing up conservative voices on the internet with an internet bill of rights? I mean, the only thing I think, people didn't vote for him to move the embassy to Jerusalem. That wasn't what people voted for. So I don't know whether it's going to be maybe Macron will leave, but will it really change anything? I mean, they had the opportunity to vote for Le Pen and they didn't.
Well, that's the thing. I think I don't talk to everybody who's paying attention to this, but the odds of Macron as a result of this being replaced with Le Pen or even like a military style Napoleon dictatorship is not any chance of coming. It will just be one of his typical approved successors. It's just, this is no, clean slate, and the guillotines aren't going to come out of this one. It's just not going to happen.
I agree. The bureaucracy and the entire apparatus of government, it doesn't really matter if you take one cog in and put another cog out. I mean, it's just shuffling the deck. And I think if you want to have change, you're going to have to bring out the guillotines, to be honest.
Yeah, well, my thinking is that Europe is so far gone insofar as its immigration. And, once the toothpaste is out of the tube, you can't really put it back in, or not very easily. Unless there's some sort of violent revolution, something, catastrophic, I think that it's just going to shuffle along into a slow good night kind of situation. I don't actually see any kind of revolution, because it seems to me also that there's enough of the top population, of the top 10, 15%, and they have enough power, and of course they have the army, that they can put down any kind of rebellion. I think that the elites, the globalists, call them what you will, they have enough, they're coherent enough ideologically, because there is no split at the top. Everybody on the top is pretty much on the same page. Globalism, über alles, the European project, that whole thing, neoliberal economic policies, the free flow of capital, and the movement of capital towards cheap labor markets so as to provide cheap consumer goods. Everybody's on board with that insofar as the elites are concerned. You go from Obama to George W. Bush, and it's basically, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. And so since the elites are so coherent and so all sides of the elites think more or less the same. The bottom end, the bottom 85% of the population is really going to have to organize, and it's going to have to, how can I put it? Look, a proletariat never really is able to do much. It needs a bleeding edge. It needs, Lenin was right. The proletariat cannot guide themselves. They need a vanguard party, somebody who can come together and give them leadership, give them a direction and a way to achieve political power. And therefore, we have to look to those who are disenfranchised, who are capable but disenfranchised from the top leadership, to provide that leadership to the proletariat, to break this globalist oligarchy that sorry.
You have to ask, what are the real asks of this kind of group? I don't really think there is much. Let's rewind the clock to 1789. The request of the revolutionary groups was the ancien regime can't manage, and we're not interested in letting them manage. 1848, it's we want more democratic participation in the liberal process. 1871, it's the Paris Commune. Literally, the workers will take over the city. The last few iterations of revolts in France have been what we don't want, marginal reductions in benefits, or gas is a little expensive. There's an incongruence of asks and demand and expectations here, and I think that's kind of where France is at, which is why I say the guillotines won't come out.
I would just add to that, it's almost like a window into the entire Western world, where you have people rioting over their wants rather than their responsibilities. So, for example, we've gotten to a point with the democratic model that we have today, where any person that wants to get elected, it's not what they have to do to better the country, it's what they can give, and gives me that. We'll give you this, we'll give you that. You just vote for us and we'll give you this. And if there's any sort of reduction in those handouts, people riot. They become, I guess, they become used to having what they think is their rights, and their rights are to handouts. And when you take those away, people,
No, insofar as the French riots, I know the particulars of it, and it's not quite like that. What's going on is basically the riot is happening because of the gas tax. Now, the gas tax that was implemented by Macron is the second one this year. He implemented one on the 1st of January, and this recent one upped the price of gasoline to the equivalent of $7 per gallon. So U.S. viewers will get a sense of that, which is the majority of those listening. And so gas is incredibly expensive. And the problem that's happening is that, the elites are living in the cities. They live in the cities, and the cities have become the playgrounds of the rich or those catering to the rich, that 10-15% service class to the rich. And so the people outside of the cities, well, they need a car. And so these taxes directly affected them. And the reason for the taxes was Macron was doing it so as to disincentivize driving and to, reduce global warming, which is a typical bullshit.
I just want to interject. You're totally right about that with regards to a city like Paris.
Right.
Paris is now a playground of the rich. It's a museum.
Yeah.
For older, wealthy people, and all of the immigrants are kept in the suburbs outside the city, and they are the ones they're kept out. This is why you see the rioting a lot of times with these immigrant communities. Why it happens on the outside of the city, and the thing is people who live in the countryside, or people who live in places where you do need an automobile, will generally not be as wealthy as the people living on the Champs-Élysées.
Exactly.
Or in the around the Arc de Triomphe. Yeah. So no, I would agree with you. It's and one of the things about this gas tax that would probably be part of the infuriation that the French people feel is it's not because of market forces. There's not an embargo on oil coming out of the Persian Gulf. This is being instituted, as far as I know, and the chat or you guys could correct me, but this is being instituted in an attempt to quote unquote fight global warming, and a carbon tax basically. And it's a tax for climate change, and it's going to disproportionately hit people on the lower end of the socioeconomic ladder. So I understand the frustration, and I would also, venture as well. Like I was looking just recently at the tax brackets in countries like the UK, France, and it's astronomical.
Yeah.
It's astronomical. If you add the VAT or the GST, depending on the country, plus income tax, plus all the other assorted taxes that these people are living under, you're literally looking at 65% of your income going
No,
to the state, and then you just keep upping it, upping it, upping it. I would pretty much. It is the camel. Sorry, it is the straw that might be breaking the camel's back, but and they might have a turnaround on this particular tax. But what they do need is the big problem, the overarching problem that people are addicted to, that they need to get rid of, is the welfare state. The
Yeah.
welfare state is not it's not mathematically possible for a welfare state to exist in the long term, and especially in a time where you have the native population that's paying it having a fertility crisis, while at the same time importing millions of people who are not only uneducated but in a lot of circumstances don't speak the language and have no real prospects in any kind of work that would actually pay into the coffers of the country. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of forces at work, but I think if you pin down the actual illness rather than the symptoms, it's the welfare state.
Yeah, I think that the welfare state, and also we with Benway, we've talked about this at some length, and we also identify the notion of the individual as the basic unit of society is a mistake, because we're not a collection of individuals. We're a collection of families, of nuclear families, mother, father, kiddies. That's the basic atom of a society. If you don't have people reproducing at a healthy rate, that society is going to die. And we're seeing that in Western Europe, and to a lesser extent in the United States, where people are foregoing having a family, and women are sacrificing their most fertile period in order to have a career, quote unquote, where they're basically just cogs in a machine, a neoliberal machine that does not help people, that does not give them any kind of security, certainly no kind of love or comfort.
So,
as a
Coach, you're
family
saying that
would.
the emancipation of women destroys civilization?
No, well, basically, yeah. I mean, if you want to get like, like the cereal box cover kind of thing, yeah. We should be fomenting families. We should be giving tax breaks to families, to mothers who stay home and take care of the kids, especially. We should be disincentivizing women from going into the workforce, because it helps the globalists. Because with women going into the workforce, it drives down the cost of labor, right? Which is what the rentier class wants. They want cheaper labor. Cheaper labor means more profit. And so with incentivizing women to go into the workforce, it drives down the price of labor. Bringing in migrants, same thing, it drives down the price of labor. We're only talking about, or many times people only talk about the immigrants, the unskilled workers. But in the United States, you have the H-1B1 visa program, which is essentially importing technicians, software designers, and what have you, and making them indentured servants to the companies that hire them. Because if they lose their job at that company that they're hired for under the H-1B1 visa, they have to leave the country. They have to leave the country, I think, in 30 days or something like that. Okay, and so it's like you're creating this. Immigration is not just of the poor people from the Middle East. It's at all levels, and it's all designed to drive down the price of labor so that the rentier class can extract more wealth. And it seems to me that we as a society have to put on the big boy pants and make up our minds about a few things. And one of them is we have to disincentivize immigration, disincentivize women going into the workforce, and incentivize and foment women and men having families, well-constituted family, dad, mom, kiddies, and the dog, that will help our society to flourish. But this kind of like worship of the individual is suicidal. Well, that's my rant. It's not the first and won't be the last, but that's my rant, and I'll leave it to you guys. What do you think of that? Am I full of shit as usual, or do I have a point?
I'll let you go because I've been speaking quite a bit. So,
Well, I mean, we've reiterated what we've said before. I think the broader point, regardless of the family, is that the general liberal project is predicated on the idea that, hey, look, everything which precedes this wonderful thing we've discovered is, an arbitrary set of traditions, conditions, rules, impositions on you. It's the church's rules on how you live your life is kind of annoying, isn't it? Wouldn't you rather be free of that? And hey, by the way, it's irrational, it's capricious. Why would you want to be bound by that? So you get rid of things like religious influence. You get rid of things like the family. You get rid of the expectations of marriage, and you're left in a situation where you're an individual. Do whatever you want to do. The practicality of what that means is, one, you're defined by what you consume. It's the easiest way to figure it out. Like, you wear this type of clothing or that type of clothing, or you consume this type of
Well,
food or
people
that
aren't
type
even
of
called
food.
citizens anymore. They're called consumers, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And the net result of what happens from that is, because you have no institutions in some sense adjudicating what's right and wrong, the general conclusion is, well, the only real institution that's left is the state or the market, and they'll adjudicate it for you. And those are not really the institutions that are, shall we say, things that will normally stand the test of time. They're predicated largely by what's the flavor of the moment.
I would agree. I think I agree with Coach that you have to re-incentivize women to have children in their most fertile years. Being a young woman, spending I guess, as the clock is ticking, spending those years in a cubicle working for some multinational corporation, and you hit 40, 45, you're a single woman with no children. And I don't think a lot of women, when they get to that age, would be happy with that kind of life. You have to renegotiate the relationships between the sexes, and I think a lot of that could be down to a reorganization of the political spectrum, in so far as the way voting rights are accrued by individuals. I think one person, one vote is almost ridiculous. I think allowing people that don't contribute to society, who are net recipients of government largesse, shouldn't be allowed to have the same say as, say, a family with 5 kids who are providing for those 5 kids and also paying taxes, for example.
Yeah.
I don't think that the idea that there's one person, one vote, everyone has the same rights. If you're I don't want to disparage welfare mothers, for example, in the United States, but I do know that I've read that a lot of these welfare mothers in places like Baltimore, Detroit, Philadelphia, they will keep having children from, another man, just to keep the welfare checks coming in.
Yeah.
And this is not, it's dysgenic to begin with, because you're having the growth in population that's happening within the native populations in welfare states is dysgenic, because you're having people coming from more dysfunctional homes. You have people coming from places that aren't as advantageous, especially when you're a child. And I think all of these things are, again, centered around the renegotiation of the political compact between the citizen and the state. And I think it's going to have to come at some point, because the bread and circuses can't go on forever. And it doesn't matter how many immigrants you bring in, thinking that you're going to put in more. I mean, it's even interesting with parties like the Democrats in the United States, the liberals, and actually the liberals, conservatives in Canada, it doesn't matter. You have parties in Europe, the SPD in Germany versus the CDU. Supposedly one's to the left, one's to the right, but they have the exact same policy when it comes to immigration and bringing in people that are not only culturally incompatible, but generally socially dysfunctional. So you're going to have some kind of, as I said, reorganization of the political agreement between citizen and state, or it's just, I mean, maybe this is just the evolution of human societies. They are born, they grow, they thrive, they wither, they die, and then they become reorganized. I mean, we've seen it, since the Egyptians to the Greeks to the Romans to the Aztecs. It doesn't really matter where.
Yeah.
But maybe this is just the evolution of a human society.
I think so. Look, everybody who's living in whatever society throughout history has always thought that, this could never get any better, right? And it'll always be like this, and this is the peak. But they never think to themselves that something can be better and something can get worse we're accustomed to the notion that the future will be pretty much the same as today, when no, constant change is we've seen it throughout history, and like you said, every society, every civilization has eventually decayed. The decay sometimes takes a long time. I mean, think about the Roman Empire. You can say that realistically it started going down, like in the first century A.D., but it really just collapsed. What, 300-400 years later, right? It takes time. It's sort of like the Titanic. The Titanic, when it hit the iceberg, right? It didn't sink in 5 minutes or 1 minute. It took like 2-3 hours to sink. It's a big boat. Okay, and a big
The thing
boat.
is when you say these things though to most people,
Yeah.
blue pilled or whatever, they'll call you Chicken Little, crying
yeah.
that the sky is falling down. And the thing is actually I can use your adage with the Roman Empire and stretch it even further. I would agree with you with the replacement of the Republic to the Empire. You then had probably it was interesting because I was just recently in Croatia and I was in Split, and Split was originally the retirement of the last uncontested Roman emperor of the entire empire, Diocletian, and he was the one that split the empire between the western and eastern provinces. And what you had a 400-year decline. Well, I'd probably say about a 200-year decline in the empire from the second century. But the Eastern Empire went all the way up to 1453 with the Constantinople, the Byzantines. So you literally can stretch it out over centuries, or it can come all in one fell swoop, like it did with, for example, the Mexican empires. This is the Aztecs, I believe, right? In Teotihuacan.
Yeah.
And it can come overnight with people like Cortez, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it is a civilization is a very, very fragile
exactly
commodity, and people don't seem to realize that. They think it's built to last and it's impenetrable and invulnerable, where it's not. I apologize. I don't mean to interrupt.
No.
I just was thinking about that.
Shoot the shit kind of conversation, I mean, because for those of you who don't know, Black Pigeon Speaks went through just a very unpleasant situation with this asshole guy that we all know and despise. And we were talking about it before the show, and he'd gone on. BPS had gone on the Ralph Report over on Stream Me.
By the way, I don't mean to interrupt again, but if anybody, you should actually watch it, because he sent on one of his lackeys, and he got absolutely blown the fuck out. So
which lackey? Which lackey was it?
Literally, his henpeckery was just completely shown to be, the guy was literally illiterate and couldn't read what was right in front of his face. So I won't say any more on that, but it was hilarious.
Which was the asshole that was sent there?
I don't know. His name was Liberal something or other. I don't know who he was. Yeah. He wouldn't say who he was. He just said that he was a representative. He said who he was, but I don't know who he was. And I said, well, why are you attacking me? He's like, well, that's a secret. I said, well, what have I ever done to you people? That's a secret.
He said that's a secret?
Yeah,
oh my God.
And he said he liked to eat pigeons. He liked to eat birds. No, but the funny part is he was literally, it was a mundane moment. He was absolutely fucking blown the fuck out. But anyway.
Oh man, I missed it because here it was it played at 6 a.m. Okay, because
sorry, in the chat it's Liberal Sanity Project. But yeah, I don't really want to talk about it. You go ahead. Just finish it off.
Oh no. I sort of lost my train of thought. Oh, about the whole civilizational decay and all the rest of it. Well, it's a natural state of affairs in human affairs. But save me, Benway. I lost track of what we were talking about.
I mean, well, here's kind of we talk about civilization and decline, rising and falling. I'll just ask the stupid question: what is the culture of France today at all? I mean, I just don't recognize anything that is distinctively French about it, other than from an outsider perspective, a general sense of people are annoyed and protest a fair amount of time, but that's really about it. Is that the limit of what France is today?
It seems to be like.
Would you say there's much of a difference between a city and its culture and its people? Toronto, New York, London, Paris.
Yeah,
they're. I mean, I don't really feel very different going to any of those places anymore, other than the difference in architecture.
Yeah, and language.
Well, we were even talking in the United States. There used to be a difference, when you went to the South, for example, you felt like you were going to the South. But when I'm in, Atlanta, nothing's really different about Atlanta versus Chicago versus DC. Pick your city. I mean, yeah, there's some trite differences, of course, but no cultural differences. And I suspect they're not that different from the basic things you'd encounter and engage with in London and Paris and Toronto, what have you.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
the architecture is different, but it's been fundamentally the same. I've been fortunate enough to be able to live in Paris and London and New York and Los Angeles, and like right near at the center of those cities. And I can tell you that they all feel the same. The architecture is different, and sure, in London they have a different accent, and in Paris they speak French, but it's basically the same. There's a homogeneity to it that is depressing, to tell you the truth, because you would think, I mean, in the past it was that you would go to a different city and it would be different. It would be radically different. The rules would be different. The approach to problem solving would be different. But now it's pretty much the same shit everywhere. It's this neoliberal beige. You know what I mean? And
Well,
Yeah.
it's that line. It's that line from Murdoch. Murdoch. You can't mix the colors; it'll all just be brown.
yeah,
Murdoch is actually genius. I'm convinced that the guys that are behind it are actually professional writers. I mean, they might have a stinker episode here or there, but taken as a whole, it's genius.
yeah. Because I noticed that Murdoch's timing is unbelievably good. Okay, in their cuts and how they time a joke and what have you, it's so good. And yeah, they have that deliberate DIY aesthetic. But yeah, I think that you might be right. I hadn't really considered it, but yeah, it could be that they are actually professional comedy writers who, because they're very jealous about guarding their anonymity.
Oh yeah, well I would imagine they'd have to be, right?
Yeah, yeah. Because if they're working out in LA in the industry, man, I mean, one whiff of them being behind Murdoch, and their career would be over. I mean, they'd be toast.
Yeah.
And
For the rest of their lives.
yeah. And also, I would guess that this is part of the reason that they don't really make a push to have Murdoch be like a big thing, because Murdoch really is underground, and even people in our neck of the woods, relatively few people follow them and watch all of their videos. And so I think that that's a deliberate strategy on their part, that they do not want any attention, but they need to make these videos, probably just just as a pressure release kind of thing. And also,
I would agree. I would agree. I mean, the thing is we're being told constantly by our media, by our government, by pretty much all of the organs of the state that we should be celebrating what's happening around us. We should all be celebrating the fact that we're getting obese, or we're all having plastics in our shit, or that we're all thousands and thousands of dollars in debt for credit cards, or that we have to take out a country. People are talking in the chat about Vancouver and Toronto, the city that I grew up in, Vancouver. Canada by land area is the second largest country in the planet. It's one of the most underpopulated places on earth. However, if you want to buy a crack shack in my hometown, you're talking millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And this is what we're supposed to say. Well, we love having Chinese ill-gotten cash from the Chinese, the Democratic Republic of China, flushing into our city and our housing market being used as a laundromat for ill-gotten money. And we're supposed to celebrate that as something. Well, how could you be against housing prices going up and all of these dirty?
You're a socialist. You're against capitalism.
Well, no, I'm not against capitalism. I'm for regulated capitalism for things that are necessary for people. I mean, housing is something that everybody needs, and you wouldn't have to regulate it if you kept out all of these Chinese people, for example, flooding into the market with all of this money, and they make all of their money. This is the more interesting thing. They make all of their money outside of Canada. So what you'll have is they'll come in, they'll buy up a street, and they'll be living in a $1 million, $1 million, not a mansion in Vancouver anymore, a $20 million house, but they still get welfare benefits, and they put their kids in, and they still take all of the social services without paying a fucking dime in service. So I am for some regulation of capitalism, but I also see that it's not just poor flooding a country with poor people, it's also flooding a country with wealthy people, because you have entire, like in my friendship group, the only people who will be living in a house that I grew up in the city are people who will be able to inherit that house.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to buy houses.
Yeah.
So
You
I
can't
would just say,
compete.
yeah, there's a lot of issues around this.
Well, there's going back a little bit to the comments you're making. I think, Coach, you were saying, "Oh, are Murdoch secretly professional writers?" I honestly don't think they are, and I actually want to harp on this point. It's kind of what was being mentioned there. Um, the culture has reached such a restrictive point that I think precisely the only people who are actually going to be able to function and notice the things we notice, criticize it in an interesting way, are people who are conscientiously aware that they are outside
Yeah.
the world, right? I mean, you just look at the content produced late night
It's
or on
despicable.
Netflix, or pick your poison. The restrictions in thought, the restrictions in observation, are so glaring that there's you only could have been an outsider and created this. You only could have been some sort of conscious outsider and recognized the writing on the wall for what it is. I think this is partly why it's just so hard. Black Pigeon, if you were to mention all of these things going on in Vancouver and why it is the way it is, I'm sure people in the comfortable established world of Vancouver just wouldn't even be able to comprehend what you're saying. I mean, they would just recognize that, cost of living is very high here, but we're just accepting people, so immigration can't be the cause of this.
Yeah. Hey, by the way,
And even if they, sorry, go ahead.
BBS, I want to ask you. You were talking about just before the show started. You were talking about Japan, that it's cheap, because I've been toying with the idea of, like, maybe in 5-7 years moving to Japan. And Black Pigeon Speaks was mentioning, well, this is the time to come because you can get all sorts of deals in Japan. You were telling me about a beachfront property for 80 grand, and they tossed in a Mercedes. Did I hear you right?
Yeah, you heard me right. What's happening right now in Japan is they are having, as almost every G7 or developed country, they're having a fertility crisis.
Yeah.
And what's happening is but they haven't instituted mass immigration. So they are right now, they've just recently passed a new law to allow workers in, I think it's something like 250,000 to as a stopgap measure. But the difference is these people will never be allowed to stay as permanent residents. I mean, they would obviously if they got married to a Japanese citizen, but they're not going to ever be allowed to have permanent residency, nor will they ever be allowed to gain citizenship. And they're also sourcing their immigrants from countries that they believe are the most culturally compatible. I don't believe they're going to ever take Chinese, because I think one of the reasons they've resisted immigration this long is because Japanese people have an inherent, and I think millennia long, fear of Chinese domination of their country. But what's happening is yes, they're having a fertility crisis, and there's not. So what's happening is you'll have people die, and let's say you live in Tokyo, central Tokyo, or you live in central Osaka or Nagoya, or you live in Sendai or Fukuoka, one of the large metropolises, and your parents live out in, I don't know, Guma or Nagano. And for those of you who are not familiar with Japan's geography, those are like more rural or small town, maybe flyover states, for example. And your parents pass away, and you've got this house to deal with. And in Japan, it's not as easy to run away from debts and obligations. You'll even see during the bubble time, they had people that had intergenerational mortgages. When Japan, during up until the 80s and 90s, I mean, I think the Emperor's Palace, which is at the center of Tokyo, and it's not even that big, but the land value of the Emperor's Palace was worth more than California or Australia.
Yeah.
No, it was California. That was a joke. I remember that joke that they Japan just said, "We'll sell the Imperial Palace and we'll take California."
Yeah.
So it really was like that. But because of the fertility crisis, what's happening is you're having a lot of people then saddled with houses that they don't want. And it's very hard to just abandon a house in this country, especially if it's owned by somebody. And if you have blood, like, for example, like in this country, it's not the individual. So even when things like crime happens, parents are held responsible, even if the person that commits the crime is like 30 years old. And socially and even financially, they will be held responsible. I just saw recently a care worker who gave too much medicine that made this one couple drowsy, and they went and drove, and they drove off a cliff or something. She was held liable for murder. She was in her 60s, and she just got like a 25-year jail sentence. You know, like they didn't. My point is, I'm getting kind of sidetracked. In Japan, there's just property absolutely everywhere that's going for it's a fire sale at this point. Now, people can, and if they don't believe me, just go to Craigslist and go to Japan, and then choose something not in Tokyo. Choose something like Chiba or Shizuoka or whatever, and then go for houses for sale, because you can find them in English. And literally, I saw one that was a beachfront house. It looked really nice in Chiba, and I guess they were just desperate to sell it. And it was 80 grand, and they had a Mercedes that they would give you. You know, because not a lot of people, if you don't live out in the country, a lot of people don't have cars, right?
Right.
I myself haven't ever owned a car in my life. Oh no, that's not true. I did have one in high school, but after high school, I never had a car.
Oh,
so,
you lived in cities that had good public transportation, I take it.
Yeah, all of my life. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, like, what's happening. And if anybody would be interested, I mean, I think that I imagine Japan is going to probably be after the Olympics, because right now there is, in the city of Tokyo right now, there's a bubble in housing. It's fucking ridiculous in metropolitan Tokyo. And I think the reason for that is the upcoming Olympics in 2020. But after 2020, I have a feeling that that Japan might be opening itself up to more Western immigration. There's already cities in northern Japan, in ski towns and whatnot, that are basically owned by Australians. So you can go there. I was up in Hokkaido a couple of weeks ago, and literally everyone is white. Everyone is speaking English. All the signs are in English. It's bizarre, like little colonies, right? So I'm just saying, like I'm not saying people should move to Japan. Pardon me?
At ski resorts?
Yeah, well, like around ski mountains, they basically bought up. I mean, you can buy yourself a house at a resort now in Japan around ski mountains for almost nothing. You know,
nothing being what? Under 100 grand?
Oh God, no! I'm talking like 20 grand, dude. 25 grand.
You're kidding?
No, at some of the best ski mountains up in Nagano, for example. No, I'm not kidding. It's absolutely.
Oh man, that's just too tempting. I mean, like I'm like, a ski house, a ski place, for $20,000. Shit, in Chile, like the cheapest you can get. I'm talking a shack, okay, of maybe 20 square meters, 250 square feet. You have to pay at least $150,000. Yeah, that would be the going price. And anything like nice, you're talking $250,000 and up. You simply cannot get anything, in the 5 digits. And so you're talking me like in Nagano at $20,000? Jesus Christ.
Well, it's supply and demand. It's collapsing. The demand is collapsing as the years march forward, just because of demographic trends. It's fucking crazy, dude.
Why don't they foment like the internal immigration of people from the big metropolises?
Well, they're trying that, and actually, in that respect, they'll give you a free fucking house if you move out to the countryside. If you move out to the countryside, they'll give you cash payments if you have like kids or you're married. Like, I mean, if you're a single guy, maybe you can get a free apartment or free house. But if you got a wife, kids, and stuff, they'll give you money from the local treasury.
And so,
well, you could be tempting me now. I'm not a skiing person, but I since I know obviously it's internally, but I mean, like I could easily be persuaded.
Damn. It's weird, because the amount of Western people I've noticed living in Japan, like I've said to you, Coach, I don't think I'm going to stay here that much longer, because I'm a Rolling Stone, and I've lived in a whole bunch of different places, and I think I've had my time in Japan. It's
how long you been there, by the way?
Several years. I don't really ever like to give
no worries.
Thing, but several years, long enough to be fairly intimate with the local culture. And just talking about, I was saying, it's not only ski resorts, it's islands, it's almost. I mean, in Japan, the one thing about it is it's with regards to its infrastructure, it's more developed than the most developed Western country.
Yeah.
In terms of just the presentation of things, and it's not a bad place, right? It's not a bad place. I'm seeing in the chat someone saying go to Chile. Actually, I just had a friend of mine emigrate to Chile. He's in Santiago now for about the next year, looking at getting his residency, and then he's moving out to a place called Viena del Mar. Does that sound right?
Yeah, Viña del Mar.
Some
Viña del Mar. Yeah,
that's
that's a coastal
that's the one.
town. Yeah, yeah, that's actually
Yeah,
where
that's where he wants to
my
go.
parents grew
That's
up.
where he
As a
wants
matter
to
of
go.
fact. Yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah.
He showed it to me, and I looked at it on Google Earth. It looks absolutely amazing. He said it had the same climate as Southern California as well.
Yes, it does. It has the exact same
Yeah.
climate as Southern California. Personally, I prefer to go more to the south of Chile, to the Lakes region, because it's
Right.
more a country. I personally don't care for I don't care for Santiago very much. And like, look, I've lived there all my life. Well, no, that's not true. But I mean, like, I've lived big chunks of my life there. That's where I am ethnically from, right? So I know it pretty well. And so my vision of it is a lot different from a newbie's who just shows up. But yeah, it's very nice. It's objectively very nice, and there are. Look, Santiago is just like Santiago is a boring city, but it's got all the modern conveniences of any Western city. It looks just like another Western city. It's like no real difference. Viña del Mar is sort of like the same. You got the same shit. You got Starbucks and McDonald's and crap. But the south of Chile I prefer it personally. I mean, it's just lakes. It's just much more rural. That kind of, yeah, a rural environment for me is much nicer in Chile. But yeah, I mean, like, you should go there. Check it out.
I've heard like the southern part of South America is absolutely beautiful.
Yes, it is. It's extremely beautiful. And Argentina is spectacular, but the only problem is that it's filled with Argentines, and Argentines are fucking morons insofar as managing their country.
Isn't it a very socialist country as well?
Oh no, it's
at least
corrupt.
politically?
It's corrupt. It's not socialist. If it only were socialist, it's corrupt. That's the problem. And the problem is that there is corruption at all levels of society. It's a country that exists on corruption, okay? And periodically, their economy blows up. It blows up just catastrophically. And it happened in 2001. It's happening now. It's just a whole nightmare. Argentina,
Well,
you
they
could.
always seem to be having currency crises, don't they?
Yeah.
Every 10 years or so.
Yeah, and the problem with Argentina is that, see, because it's a corruption-based economy and society, unless you are a native and know all the rules, you'll never know what you can get away with and where you're going to be screwed. Okay, so it's just not that's the problem with a lack of transparency.
I don't mean to interrupt. There's a question in the chat, and I don't know, and I'd actually enjoy your answer if you can. What about Uruguay? Because I've actually been. I'm one of these Google Earth fanatics. I love
Right.
just going places and looking.
Sure.
And I went to Montevideo, and it just looks spectacular.
Yeah.
Somebody's asking about Uruguay. Do you know
Yeah.
anything about Uruguay?
Yeah, I know plenty
anything.
about Uruguay. Montevideo is beautiful. Mar del Plata, it's great. It's sort of like Argentina, but less so. Okay, less arrogant, less corrupt. Nice people, beautiful women. I mean, just really gorgeous. Okay, but not so good as in Ukraine, I have to say. Ukrainian women are unbelievable. But anyway, Uruguay is very, very nice. Also, the climate there is, again, like Southern California. It's a lovely country. It's a resort country. It tends to be tourist-based economy, and people from Argentina flock there. It's also a place where a lot of Argentines park their money, and so things tend to be a little bit expensive in Uruguay because of it. And so, yeah, because it's literally across the river from Argentina. It's a great country, but expensive, and it's. But I mean, look, for my money, I prefer Uruguay over Argentina. Yeah, that would be my suggestion. Yes. The other place.
My escape route planning these days is to just return to the family lands of Poland. I'm much more of a forests and lakes person. I'm also like the reverse Jew in 1930s and 1940s. I'm going into Poland as the safe bet.
Yeah, well, it seems like in the future, yeah, because Poland, Hungary especially, they're holding the line. I don't know how long they'll be able to hold the line. Hey, BBS, you figure that Europe is going to collapse altogether as a union?
I think I think the European Union will be reconstituted somehow. I think it's already at this point. You've got sort of two different lanes. You've got the Greeks and the Italians and the Spaniards, but then you also have then the Germans and the Dutch and the Danes, for example. I think you might see a reconstituted EU that only holds, for example, the Danish, the Germans, and the Dutch. And I don't think it's going to survive in its current form. No, I don't think it can. I mean, you have 27 or 26, I guess, if the UK leaves, different nationalities, different languages, different cultural habits. You have nothing that unites them. I saw recently that the German, I believe it's the German finance minister. It might have been the German foreign minister, but he was talking about how they're inching France toward giving up their seat on the Security Council at the UN and making it a EU seat. I thought that was kind of ridiculous, but I just here's the question that I would pose to anyone who believes that the EU is something that can last: is if you were a French person, or if you were a Latvian person, or if you were somebody from Greece, would you die for the EU? And I don't think many people would. I don't think many people would. People have died for their country in Europe for centuries, for millennia. I mean, the last big dust up of World War II, which I think was probably one of the stupidest conflicts other than World War One. I mean, you had men by the millions go and die for their country. Yeah. How many people are going to die for the EU? Yeah,
long live the EU and the EU Commission. Yeah, I don't hear that. I don't hear a soldier yelling that, to tell you the truth.
No.
And they keep talking that they want to have a European army. What drug are they smoking out there? I mean, like, I think it's absurd, but oh well, whatever. I mean, like, Macron can say his little idiocy. God, I have to just say it. Okay, this is going to sound like petty and whatever, but you guys saw that picture of Macron, like, basically partying down with those two black refugees who were flipping off the cameraman? You guys saw that?
Were they smoking a joint? Oh, I think they were
smoking a joint on top of that. Oh God!
I think they were doing something with pot or hash or something, as I remember.
That was so goddamn gay. I mean, goddamn. I mean, how far from De Gaulle to this? Do you imagine, Charles de Gaulle, getting down and boogieing with a couple of, black migrants like that? Oh God, it was just. I'm sorry.
No, the French. I mean, he was of the generation that would sooner set, Algeria on fire than to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, right.
Then to even sit down and have dinner with an Algerian. I agree.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it's also. I'm reminded of the intellectual decline from when people like Camus would say, look, the reality of the situation is I can feel all I want for the Argentinians. I'm sorry, not Argentinians, excuse me, the Algerians. But, if they're going to do anything to harm my mother, fuck it. I won't, put up with that. To, literally Macron is taking orders from whomever is not French today. You know what I'm saying? So any kind of loyalty to anything seems to be gone.
Well, I would agree, and the one thing about that is I think that's part of the globalist plan. It's to mix everybody up, so nobody has any sort of heritage, nobody has any sort of identity other than being consumers. The conversation is coming full circle in a way that this is part of the globalist plan. Is to the one reason why they're injecting all of these people that have absolutely no cultural connection or no ability to create a cohesive society is to make people feel completely disjointed and not part of anything larger than themselves. And the thing is people say, well, it's already too far gone. It's not going to ever be able to go back the way it was. We're never going to have homogeneous societies. But I would just venture, if you take a look at the decolonization of North Africa, the French, in a matter of months, when their colonies in Morocco, their colonies in Tunisia and other places were decolonized, there was something like maybe more than 2 to 3 million ethnic French people living in the colonies. And 99.9% of them were that I think the term was they were evacuated to metropolitan France.
Mm.
All of the whites were cleansed from colonial possessions in Vietnam,
Yeah.
in Indonesia. If you guys ever get a chance to travel in Asia, Vietnam, anyone in chat as well, Vietnam, the cities were built by the French. So you go to cities like Hanoi and you go to Hoi An or Saigon, and they're absolutely fucking beautiful. They're tree lined, their architecture, they've got these bridges, parks, they're absolutely beautiful. And one of the reasons, and they got massive cathedrals, hundreds of years old, that Notre Dame in Paris has nothing on. But all of this was built. The same would have gone with Hong Kong, but all of these people were cleansed once people had the political will to change their countries, going from colonies to independence. So I would always use that as an example of trying not to be blackpilled, that things cannot be solved peacefully with the current situation, where people who aren't compatible and aren't going to ever be able to adjust and create a cohesive society in countries in the West, for example, they do still have a home and there's a place they can go. It's just a matter of having the political will in order to do it before our countries are too far gone, before none of us have an identity anymore, before none of us feel any sort of kinship with anything larger than a Big Mac, a Coke, and whatever is being pumped out of Hollywood, right? Yeah. So that's my diatribe. Sorry, I'll be quiet for a while.
No. I unfortunately I agree with you, because I think that the problem with the neoliberal globalist ideology that we've been inculcated with, the Enlightenment ideology, is that we're all the same, and so we all belong nowhere, kind of thing. And I think that that's one of the great problems, that we feel that we don't belong anywhere. The issue of alienation has been a great topic in 20th century literature. And yeah, we don't feel that we belong anywhere, that there isn't a place for us, that for our own family, where we're with our own people, with people who share our values. And there's this notion, the neoliberal notion, that you get educated, you go out, you leave your family, you leave them behind, and you go out into the world and you find your friends, and your friends become your ersatz community. But that's not really the case, because these friends are transient. They come in and out of your life. You need something stable, something rock solid that'll last all of your life. And I think that our
you're talking about community, basically.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, and what's happened?
Community is so important.
Yeah, and not the ersatz community that people talk about, like a community, quote unquote, when it's really just shared interest or shared self-interest. I'm talking about an actual community where you have responsibilities to one another and you have prerogatives that you can demand from one another. We don't have that anymore. There are only a few enclaves here and there, like the Amish, who do have an actual community. But for the most part, what people call community is just self-interest, common self-interest, and that's not community. That's just common self-interest. You know what I mean? Yeah. Jesus Christ, we're getting black-pilled as fuck.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we've been atomized, and we've been atomized for a reason. Consumer culture wants us atomized. It wants us all in separate homes so they can sell TVs to every single person in the house, to every single person in the family. It's the atomization of our society, and it's very, very unhealthy.
But one thing you said before that for me is the epitome of the conservative mindset, is that you said before that civilization is so fragile and it can easily be destroyed. And that's the thing that I think that separates conservatives from liberals, because liberals have this illusion that you can change a society at will as much as you want to, and it'll always be there. It'll always be robust. It'll be tough enough to take the change. But people who are more conservative, and I tend to think that it's because they're older, they realize that society is extremely fragile. And if you shove a society and twist it enough, it'll shatter. It won't adapt to the new environment, the new situation. It'll just shatter.
Well, it's the difference of mentality of the liberal and socialist, because it's as I've said before, they're intellectually the same tradition. They think that humans and society are perfectible. It's a project. It's a working project, right? That's why they love the American Constitution. It's like, oh, look, we literally just wrote this idea and we can change it. Whereas the conservative has always been, you're right, fragile, but also people aren't perfect. In fact, they're usually flawed, and you're easier to go downhill than uphill.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, by the way, let me just knock out super chats. I've been remiss on this particular front. David Henry Posadas says, if mundane fat and kraut and tea are disgusting, I could agree with that.
One more. Can I hear that again? Sorry, I was just
Sure.
looking at something else.
I think David misspelled one of the words. I don't know which one. He says, if mundane fat and kraut and tea are disgusting. Mundane.
Well, to be honest, I don't know much about Mundane Matt, to be honest, other than his episode on the kill stream. I would say one thing about him
Yeah.
is, he got caught, I guess, doing strikes
Red-handed.
against channels, which is red-handed, is not nice. But what I would say about him is, looking at him, if he was being relentlessly taunted for months, I mean, he's only human. So all I'm going to say is that, it wasn't the right choice, but it might have been the human choice, because maybe he was just, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. I don't think he is, just looking at him, I don't think he's inherently a bad person. I actually just asked somebody the other day, I mean, what was the deal with Mundane Man? Supposedly there was a whole group of people that relentlessly attacked him because he danced funnily, and he also cried when he got 100,000 sub.
I did a parody video of that, by the way.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, he does dumb stuff, but I mean, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Somebody like Kraut and T, however, he's just shown himself to be not only malicious, vicious, and has no self-introspective ability to understand what an absolute disgusting human being that he is. I'm actually looking forward to tweeting at him whether or not he's going to be giving away or giving back his 100,000 subscriber plaque, because that guy is bleeding subscribers by the hundreds every single day. Since he released his hit piece on me, he's lost something like 500, 600 subscribers. I think the first day was 400. If you go on there, literally, it's just a sea of red.
Yep.
And the reason is people, I mean, I basically made a rebuttal video that blew the fuck out of everything he said. And the way he came after me was disgusting. But we just had a stream on the kill stream before I got on here, and I just took, for the sake of brevity, he sent on one of his lackeys, one of his minions, and he tried to catch me in. Well, you've got here 50 different citations, but there's no citation for this 3 sentences,
Nitpicking.
and then actually
nitpicking.
No, nitpicking. But the funny part was
wrong.
Because he was wrong. He was wrong. It was right fucking there. And the chat just fucking blew the fuck out of this guy. And this is what these people are. So somebody like Kraut, yeah, I'm going to answer the question. The man is disgusting. He's disgusting. And he is a venomous. I try to like always see the best in people. I wouldn't even be surprised if he has no soul. He literally is that vicious in what he does. I mean, even for example, when he skulked away last year, when he was caught with his doxing server, when all of the dastardly deeds that he was committing were coming out, and he skulked away in shame and humiliation. When he came back, his first order of business was to attack you, Edgy Sphinx, and Iodin Paladin. And I imagine the amount of I watched his hit piece on you, and I would imagine he must have spent. I mean, the video that he made on me, he must have spent a couple of months making as well.
Yeah.
But the one that he made about you with like crawling cockroaches.
Yeah.
And just the absolute. But the thing is the amount of time that he must have spent stewing in his own venom, marinating in his own anger. Yeah. This is not a healthy person. So no. I'll just answer.
He's one sick puppy. Yeah, and the thing is, he manufactured like a lot of quote unquote evidence against me, and tried to smear me as much as possible. And he used Kiwi Farms to do it, and Sargon did a video about me because I guessed correctly, as it turned out, that Sargon knew all about what Kraut was up to and did nothing to stop it. And what happened there in that whole situation, which is just tedious as fuck, is that it was just a lot of lies. And so, since I was like the first one insofar as his lies and bullshit, people
Yeah.
believed it at first, right? And a lot of people think that that I was like a confident scammer, that all the rest of it. You know, these guys have even gone so far as to say that I stole the identity, that I'm actually from Texas and some other crazy ass shit. I mean, it's just really just bizarro shit, which is
I
just
thought you were a Jew from Iowa. Was the
yeah,
latest story?
that was it. That was it. A Jew from Iowa, right? And you know that I can't go back to the United States, which is pretty funny because I'm going now in January, and so okay. And by the way, to everybody, I'm going to be there in New York in the second week of January, and then in Knoxville, Tennessee, to watch the Andy Tonka fight. That's going to be funny. And anyway,
Can I just throw something out before I forget? I also did on the kill stream,
what?
and somebody was just bringing him up. I want to just plug JF Garape. He's releasing a book today, and you can get it
Oh.
on Kindle and in softback. And I just wanted to give a shout out to JF because he's one of the good guys, and you know, he's one of the people that literally is looking for the truth, and he doesn't shirk away from it. And I would encourage anyone, even if you don't want the book, just to maybe take a look at his channel if you don't already.
Yes,
And
I second
have
that
a look at
shill.
what he has to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to shill JF for a minute there.
No, totally agree, and I totally endorse what you said because see, it was JF who very kindly brought me on his channel when he was like really exploding, and we went through all the bullshit that these people had manufactured about me. It was a 3-hour stream, and he was like, you know, the title of the stream was pretty much it. He said Sargon must retract because this guy, these people, they just lie about everybody who is their enemy, and they want to hurt them. It's not that they want to defeat them on an argumentative level. No. They want to hurt people that they don't like. They want to hurt people who, you know, defeat them on an arguments level. They want to hurt people who might make fun of them, might make fun of their pomposity. Because that's how my relationship with Kraut started. I thought that he was full of shit. I thought he was a pompous windbag. You know, worse than me because Jesus, I'm a windbag, but he was worse. And I said that, and it's because of that this guy had a fucking meltdown. And yeah, you and I know about editing, how long it takes to edit and put together a video. The video
Oh, absolutely.
that took me
Yeah, and also the materials as well.
months to do that. I mean, okay, no, not months. If I had to guess, I'd say a solid 3 weeks to do that video. Imagine stewing in your own anger for 3 weeks while you do a video about a guy you don't like. I mean, it's just remarkable. And the video on you,
I find it even more interesting. I even find it more interesting because I actually said, and I don't want to talk about, I don't want to give this troll much oxygen. We'll just finish with this. Is that I was just completely surprised by why he made this fucking absolute lie-soaked hit piece. And I actually, when I went through it, it's literally lie after lie after lie, or just Kraut doesn't understand things, or Kraut invokes his own authority for what is and what is not right or wrong. Literally, he's a megalomaniacal troll with delusions of grandeur as he cleans toilets. That's not the point. The point was I was on the kill stream. We were all kind of trying to figure out, why did he do this? Why did he attack me? Never in my whole time on YouTube, I've never communicated with the guy. Even during when he was attacking you and I would talk about it.
Yeah, but you decided that you didn't want to participate in any drama, which is perfectly respectable.
And I stayed out. I mean, you and I would talk behind the scenes about it, and I talked, but I never said anything publicly. I never tweeted it, nothing. And he attacked me. And when he brought on his little minion today, when he sent his minion out to do his dirty work, and the Killstream guys, and we're asking, like, why are you attacking me? Like, what's the reason? It's a secret.
It's a secret?
I like to eat birds. It's a secret.
Oh, man.
Yeah, literally.
No, I have a
suspicion.
suspicion. I have a suspicion, and the suspicion is that they're trying to create Crowd is trying to create a portfolio of like of hit pieces on right wing or alt right wing people, so that he can show, you know, to other SJWs, other leftists, that he's on the right side of history or some shit like that. I think that that's some weird plan of his, which I think is just absurd. But it doesn't make any other sense because he must have some very powerful motivator, because the humiliation of every time he releases a video, he loses more and more subscribers, to the point that on the chans, they're just waiting around like vultures for him to crack the 100,000 subscriber mark on the wrong direction, of course. And
Yeah, absolutely.
they are just waiting there, like licking their chops practically at how they're going to mock him when that day happens. I bet that they have the memes already made up and shit, right?
Yeah.
If somebody is going through that kind of humiliation, there must be some sort of purpose to it, some reason to it.
Well, I think you're right. He might be just attempting to rebrand himself, and because the thing is, as people have said, because of he has a distinct hatred for Islam, and he's made countless videos on his hatred for Islam. That it doesn't matter now. He's basically disliked by both sides because you can't play the middle for too long.
Yeah.
The middle is evaporating. Just to finish up, it is quite telling that he's deleting all negative comments on that video. Let me check right now what it's at now. He's deleting all negative comments, and he's blaming it on his moderators. And one of these are two of the 5 people that helped him make the video, a tranny and this cuck that came on the kill stream with me. And just looking at the up to down, I mean, I can't even imagine 2,400 people. So there's 2,400 upvotes to 2,700 downvotes. And he's basically annihilated any negative comments that are made for him. And there were thousands that were negative. Everything was negative, but he throws out
He bans
the mud, and then he banned me too.
Yeah.
He banned me.
Oh, I'm banned long ago. Yeah. So yeah, you're late to the game, man. I got banned way back in December of last year. I think it's just absurd, and he's just a chicken shit little faggot, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I agree. And look, he is a shit stain. Now, the thing for me that bothers me is that I was the first to be on the receiving end of this shithead and his lies. Okay, but I'm glad that everybody's catching on that this guy is just full of shit, and this whole crowd that he's got around, because it's not just Drolastra and Shit Rat, who, by the way, they were the ones who wrote the script of this thing.
I know, it's funny because I only learned out. I only was very. I'd heard about Shit Rat, but didn't really know who he was. And I've just come to know this tranny, the dilator, Drolastra. I've just come into knowing who this creature is because I've noticed it showing up like relentlessly on anything on Twitter, anything on my page, like on my videos. I'm just seeing comment after comment after comment after comment after comment after comment attacking me. And then the other guy, Liberal Project or whatever, the minion that came on, those two are backing each other up on any sort of thing. So yeah, it's anyway. I don't think that these people deserve our time, though. To be honest with you, he's humiliated himself.
But I just want to understand the motivation behind this thing, because he must have realized that something like this was going to happen. And yeah, you are like a civilian insofar as the drama is concerned. So why pull you in? Okay. Back in that doxing and smearing server that they had going, the Discord thing back in December, your name was prominently in that target list. Your name,
I know. It's
Paul Joseph Watson, Stefan Molyneux, Faith Goldie, people that he had never interacted with, because there were a lot of people. Lauren Southern, because there were a lot of names on that list that were, enemies of crowd, quote unquote, because anybody who had ever mocked him or hadn't taken him seriously was automatically an enemy and, somebody bad. Okay. And so those names, that was understandable, but you'd never interacted with the guy. Stefan Molyneux, Jesus, he's like on another planet practically. And ditto with, what's his face, Paul Joseph Watson, You can say whatever you want about their stuff, but they are not involved with crowd by any stretch of the imagination. So why was he a target? Okay, and then, he was talking to press people, the New York Times specifically, this Amy Harmon woman, who's a 2-time recipient of the Pulitzer Prize. Okay, so she is a big wheel. She's a big deal. What was going on there? What's going on now? Because these fuckers, they do all these gay ops, and they are incompetent buffoons. But the problem is that, even an incompetent buffoon can make a mess. Even an incompetent shithead can cause a lot of damage, even inadvertently. And so I just want to know what the hell they're up to at this point. But, well, I guess we'll never know. Listen, this has been a delightful conversation. Poor Benway, this is way past his bedtime. And I know you, Black Pigeon Speaks, you're exhausted because I'm guessing that the last couple of days must have been emotionally just draining. Am I right?
Well, it's funny because on the kill stream, the minion again, liberal project or whatever his name was like, oh, you sound like it was. I imagine he had all of these sort of responses. It's like, and then they've been doing it on Twitter too. It's like, hey, are you nervous? Are you nervous? And what it is they're attacking and they're wanting. I'm not gonna make. If they attack again, I'm not responding to anything. I've shown them to be the human effluence that they are, and they basically will be flushed down as they should be. I won't ever deign them with any kind of response ever again. But yeah, it's not a very nice thing, having, out of nowhere people attack you literally, and then he's sicked all of his minions on me at the same time too. So it's like this, okay, countdown to B Day, like Black Pigeon Day. Okay, now it's out. And so I noticed Kraut was even going through my the comments on videos I made, like on Lord of the Rings, and oh, look at what someone in the comments section of Black Pigeon wrote. Oh my God, can you believe what a horrible person Black Pigeon is? And then they all chime in. It's like, what the fuck? So yeah, I'm done with drama. This is my first and last outing.
Yeah.
My first and my last foray.
Yeah.
I think it's not my thing at all.
Yeah. Let me knock out the super chats before we call it a podcast. I did David Henry Posadas. Thank you, David Henry. The End Justify the Memes says, hey, CRP, I did a fan art of you. Check your email. I will. Patty McGill, what about the German areas of South America? Where are they? Are they nice for an outsider? Can we build a German empire from them? Well, they don't really exist anymore. I myself am a descendant of German immigrants to Chile. Okay, and they basically assimilated all the Germans there, and so there's no like German cities or German enclaves or something like that. They're sort of like just mixed and matched together with everybody.
What about?
Is this your clever way of saying you're secretly a child of Nazi immigrants?
Yes, this is my way of secretly saying that I'm a child of Nazi immigrants. Well, the funny thing is that, see, my grandmother, I'm not kidding, my grandmother was actually not, Hitler Youth. I'm not kidding. She was in Chile, of course. She was born and raised and lived all her life in Chile, right? But she was German-Danish. And she was Hitler Youth back in the day. Yeah. So it's pretty, she said that she had a great time, that it was a lot of fun. They went camping and sang songs and, a great old time, So, yeah. So anyway, Rawhide76 says, Coach's laugh is the ultimate Coach Kino. Yeah, I sound like a super villain. I know. Thanks, Rawhide.
You got a good laugh. That's true.
Who can do it? Well, no, it sounds better when it's spontaneous. For posterity, Kraut doesn't like Islam, but he also doesn't care about ethnic replacement of Germany or other European nations. Shirat is loathsome, so is destiny. Well said. So I do believe those are all the super chats. I want to thank my guest, Black Pigeon Speaks, and my partner in crime, Dr. Benway, for joining me in this impromptu stream. And thank you all in the chat for having been here and hung out with us, because this was like off the cuff. And what's that? Okay, so we're going to call it a podcast. Take it easy, and we will see you soon.
Take it easy.